Welcome to a new guide on this channel, and on this occasion is the Shimmer from Valhalla. Now this is not a review, it's a deep dive guide about this plugin. Now everything on this guide is in chapters, so if you look at the description or the timeline, you can jump to a section or skip the ones you don't want. Now if you like this guide, please like and subscribe, and if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee, you can. Check the links at the description. So this plugin, it's an algorithmic reverb. It can be used as a normal reverb, but it's better used as a shimmer reverb. Now the options at the bottom, the ones you have right here, will affect how it sounds. But first we need to understand the controls at the top. If you don't understand them, all of this is just gonna be nonsense. And on top of that, some of the controls we have right here depend on the other controls. So we really need to understand the controls. Right, so the mix, it's pretty obvious. This is going to be your dry signal, and how much you want from the wet is going to be all the way up if you want all the way wet. It's going to stay on 50%. Now, we need to talk about the feedback and the size first. Now, for this, I'm going to need to adjust some of the parameters we have right here. No mod rate, no mod depth. The high cut, I'm going to keep it all the way up, so we are not cutting anything. And the size is going to be all the way down, the diffusion all the way down, and the feedback all the way down. And I'm going to double click, and the shift, I'm going to put it at 0, and you're going to understand why in a couple of minutes. You can triple click or double click, and you can enter values manually. So since this is an algorithmic reverb, it has a delay DNA. So when we play something, I'm gonna be playing a synthesizer, and this is the natural sound of my synthesizer. Is a pretty, dull sound. I'm gonna be playing this, and this is what we get. So we just get one single repetition, just like a delay. Just like with any delay, going up on the feedback is gonna give us, more repetitions. So I'm gonna be playing this. I'm gonna go up in feedback. Now we get more. I'm gonna go again. All right. So again, we get more repetitions, but notice that the repetitions sound a little bit weird. And this is because this is not a delay, it's a reverb. So the repetitions will evolve as they go. Now I'm going to stand around 60 something. Now since this again, it's not a delay, it's a reverb, that's the main intention. The size right here is going to be the size of the reverb. And this will affect the feedback or the repetitions. And since it's bigger, it's just going to change the sound. So I'm going to be playing again. We get that. And I'm going to go up in size. And I'm going to do it again. Alright, so if I go up in size. So the first thing that you just notice is that when you go up in size, it's like changing the time on a delay. We play something and the repetitions, they go slower. They're slower in time. And it's because, again, remember, this is a reverb. Imagine, think about a church, right? If you shout on a church, it will take some time for the echo to come back. If you're in a small room, the reflection will be almost instant. Well, this is the same thing. You get the bigger size, longer the times, and smaller size, shorter times. Now, since this should be a reverb type of thing, and now it sounds like a crappy delay. Now, you can still use it as a crappy delay. If I play something, right? So it gives you that delay vibe. But, let's just make it a shimmer reverb, right? So let's take this delay type of, sound and make it more reverb shimmer-like. And all of this is just gonna happen on the diffusion. Now, right now, again, we just get crappy repetitions. Now, as soon as I go up on the diffusion, you're gonna start getting this reverb vibe. I'm gonna go maybe to 20%, something like that. I'm gonna play it. There you go, it's just starting. It has a slow attack and a decay, and all of this, of course, depends on the size as well. So I'm gonna just make it a little bit smaller. And if I play it, slowly enters and then slowly decays. But still, now we are getting closer to a reverb. If I make, again, the size shorter, it's just gonna be a faster decay and a faster attack, right? So this is how it works. The size is going to define how close you are, how long it's going to be. And if I go all the way up and do the same, it's going to be a slow attack and a slow decay. So all of the controls depend on the other ones. As we go up in diffusion, I'm gonna leave it around 30 something. I'm gonna go up on the diffusion, and now we're gonna start getting more. And it's entering into that shimmer type of reverb. And I keep going up. I'm gonna be going to 60 somethings. And there we go. Gonna keep going up. And there you go, you know, the power of the diffusion. And if I go all the way up, it's just gonna be more. Right? So how important these controls are. Now never forget that the size and the feedback will have a big impact in what we are doing. If I go less diffusion, something that makes sense for to take it to the shimmer land, and I just adjust the size to be a little bit smaller, just like that, and I do less feedback, all of this is gonna affect the diffusion. If I play it again, this is very short. Still sounds like that shimmer effect. But it's short and it's very controllable. And if I go the other way, super long, it's gonna take a lot more time. And it becomes a cloud, so it's less controllable. So that's it. That's how you control the shimmer. Now, we still need to talk about the other controls, but if you want more, you do maybe more feedback, you go up in size and more diffusion, and you go to Cloud Shimmerland. You want less, maybe less diffusion, less size, and less feedback, and you have something more controllable. Now, this is one part of the deal. The other side is going to be the pitch shifting capabilities that we get with this plugin, and then the modulation and the cutting and the different types. But the main thing that we need to discuss right now is going to be the shift. Okay, so I'm going to keep these controls the way they are. I'm going to stay on the size around 20 something, diffusion all the way down, and the feedback are going to be going a little bit up. And it's because I want you to hear what the shift will do. Right now, it's on 0. So if I play something, we get the delays, right? Which just works like a delay. We can hear that the repetitions are the same. And when I say the same, I'm talking about the pitch. Right here, if I go to the shift and I do it by double click, it's going to go by 1. So this means that the repetitions are going to be pitch shifted by 1 semitone. And all of this works with ratios, but it's just we play it, you're going to really notice it. So I'm going to be playing a C note. As soon as I play it, this is what happens to the repetitions. I'm going to be playing it again. So behind the scenes, all of this is going to go to the reverb, whatever we do with the feedback, diffusion, and size. Now, if I turn off the plugin, and I'm going to play it again so you can kind of commit it to memory. How is it going, right? So if I turn it off and I do it chromatically, right? It sounds pretty much the same. So this is what it's doing behind the scenes. It takes the delay and on each repetition is going to pitch shift it by 1. Now, one thing that you need to notice is that the first repetition sounds completely the same as the key that you're pressing. If I play a C note, the first note is just like the one you play. And then it's going to pitch shift. Now you can still go down in pitch. If I go by ones into negatives, I'm going to be doing it. It's going to go the other way. Now if I go all the way up, now it's going to be really different because we are not shifting by 1. We are shifting by 12 semitones. You can shift by 7 or whatever. Now if I do 12 and I play a very low key, it's shifting by 12 semitones, so 1 per octave. So it can go really, really crazy, right? So again, it's just completely up to you. You can just do 7 semitones and then, it's just still going to sound good. Now, if you keep it on an even numbers, not even numbers, it's just going to sound a little bit less musical. But still, when you add it to the diffusion, the size, and, you make it shimmer, you're not going to notice it that much. But still, having control and knowing what's going on behind the scenes, you just can control it a little bit better. So, I'm going to do, I don't know, I'm going to do 7 just to do something. The feedback, I'm going to keep it around 70 something. And now we're going to be adding the shimmer type of sound. And you're going to really notice it's completely different, right? So it's really different with no shift than with shift. If I do it by tiny amounts, still, we can have a noticeable effect. Alright, so this is how, how the shift works. You can go into negatives, you can go into positives, and remember, just adjusting all of these controls is just gonna make it more controllable and shorter. Okay, so we need to talk about the mod rate and the depth, and for this, I'm going to be staying on 0, so no pitch shifting, so we can hear the original pitch. Feedback around there, the diffusion, I'm going to keep it around there, and the size around here. So if I play something, we get something pretty easy to hear. So the mod depth, this section is going to be fast modulation. It's going to be modulation. It's going to modulate the pitch, but it's not going to do it just like the like the pitch shift. It's just more chorus type of thing. It's just a tiny chorus. That's how it sounds. So as you go up on the mod depth, you're just pretty much saying we want more modulation on the sound, and as soon as you do it, you can hear something. If I do nothing, it's very mild. But if I go up, it's going to be noticeable. Now the rate, it's super fast. Now you need to do a little bit of rate just to make it, a little bit more easy to hear. If I do less, more rate. So again, this is like adding a little bit of modulation to the sound. Just like this, maybe it doesn't sound that good, maybe if since all of this plugin is about making shimmer sounds, just using it with a very short sound, maybe it's not going to cut it. I'm going to go up on the diffusion, the size, and then it's just going to turn the depth down. This is going to just pretty much turn everything off, the mod off. But if I do it with this, sounds cool. Now I'm going to go no mod depth. Just a little bit more static, which is okay, if that's what you want. Now the mod depth is just going to make it a little bit wider, because it's just like a chorus. And you can hear it if you're using good headphones, you could just really notice the effect. Alright, so we are just pretty much done with all the controls right here at the top. We need to talk about the low cut and the high cut. And this is pretty simple. Since we have a lot going on, it's a pretty big sound, we need to do a little bit of low cutting. Just going to cut the low frequencies, and this is going to cut the high frequencies. If I cut the highs, I'm going to go all the way wet, so we can hear what's going on with the clear, with a wet signal. If I do a little bit of cutting, maybe I'm going to show you first how it sounds. It sounds like that, right? Okay, I'm gonna do high cut. It's a little bit less. I'm gonna do less, I'm gonna do more. I'm cutting above, there, just a little bit darker. Brighter, and we can see it on the spectrum. I'm gonna do it again. A little bit darker. And I'm gonna cut like crazy. Really dark. So this bottom, this control, is kind of a breakpoint. If I'm standing right here, we are cutting. But it's still, this is still bright. Now, when you pass this section, it's just gonna cut like crazy. Which is fine, Good. Gonna do it again. Really dark. So if I go to the other side and we do the low cut, this is just gonna cut the low frequencies. And we can really notice it. You need to look right here, this section. If I go up, you get a lot less of this. If I go up, it gets really thin, right? So again, we get these controls, these filters, to control the blend with the original dry signal, if you must, and, to control it a little bit better, because this can go really massive. That's the plan of the plugin, right? So if I cut the high frequencies and a little bit of the lows, we separate it from the original one. And it's, again, a little bit more controllable. If I do nothing, it's gonna stand in the way of the dry signal a little bit more. And you need to use all of these controls just to fine-tune it, because in a mix, this, gets pretty uncontrollable, gets uncontrollable pretty fast. Okay, so now we need to talk about the pitch mode, the options that we have right here. And this is really simple, but now that we know the controls, it's going to be really easy to explain. I'm going to go all the way down in the mod rate and the mod depth. I'm going to stay on the size of 40 something, the diffusion all the way down, the feedback, I'm going to keep it up so we can really hear what's going on. And then the shift, I'm going to be around 7. So if I set it like that, and I'm going to keep the mix around 50%. If I play something, we're going to be getting this pitch delay type of thing, right? We already talked about this. So this is the single mode. This is how it works behind the scenes. This is the default behavior. So what if we could go up and down at the same time? So if I play it, I want you to look at this spectrum, and I'm going to be going all the way wet. So the only thing we're going to listen is to the shimmer effect. So if I play a C, we can see that it goes up in P in pitch all over the spectrum. If I do a low note, same thing is going to happen. We can see it moving. Now, what if we could go up and down at the same time? Well, this is the dual. The dual is going to pitch shift up and down at the same time. If I play it, if I do the same, there we go. We can see the peaks right here going up and then the other ones going down. So this is what it will do. It's going to do up and it's going to do down. That's why it's called dual. Now the other ones, the single reverse, this one, it's a variation of the single one. The only difference is that this is going to do a different process. And what Mr. or Mrs. Valhalla says is that it's going to reverse the grain in time, so we get a smoother shifting. And if I just compare it with the first one, yes, it's a lot smoother. If I go to single, the other one, yeah, it's just a lot smoother. So that's the main difference. It's just a little bit cleaner. So it's just, again, a variation. And the dual one is the same. The dual reverse is just, completely the same than dual, but again, is the same process. It's just going to be a bit cleaner. If I compare it with the other one, right. So yeah, it's just a bit smoother. Then, you get the bypass. So if you're doing some pitch shifting and you want to disable it, you just go to bypass or maybe just enable it and just, get that effect. Now notice that when you bypass, and I'm just gonna, wait for the feedback to be done, maybe. There we go. So I'm gonna go up, and if I play it, notice that the repetitions are pretty clean. So it sounds like now a real delay. And it's because, again, when you're in pitch mode, and even though this is on 0, if we try it on 0, it's still going to be applying this process of shifting behind the scenes. Okay, so let's talk about the reverb mode, the ones we have right here. I'm going to be setting something around there. The diffusion, maybe 7 something. The feedback, I'm going to leave it there. And the shift, I'm going to be doing maybe just 1 for now. So the mono, it's what we've been using. And mono means that when we play something, it doesn't matter if our synthesizer or whatever source, it's mono or stereo. Mono comes into the plugin and then stereo comes out. This is what the mono means. And it's already, pretty dense and slow. So what's the difference with the other ones, with the big stereo? This one is going to be more dense. Just, again, a variation. It's just going to be more dense because a stereo comes in and stereo comes out. So now this listens to whatever signal that you're feeding, and it's going to take the stereo signal and it's not going to monofy it. So if you think in reverb terms, It's like grabbing a smaller size reverb, smaller size, and making it bigger. Just like taking a hall to a cathedral or something like that. It's just going to be bigger and larger. If I play something, maybe we're going to notice it. Alright, so that's the stereo. Let's try the mono. A lot more dense and longer, right? Yeah, we just get a lot more. And the source I'm playing is a little bit stereo. It has a little bit of unison. But just more is more, so you get to do that. Now, the other ones are just going to be variations of the same idea. If I go to the medium stereo, this one is going to be, it's going to tone things down. It's going to be less dense and less big. And it makes sense. The other one is big. This one is the medium. So it's the same idea, but smaller. If I play it, if I go to big, right? So a little bit, just a bit bigger. But this one, has less density and a smaller size. And then you have the other one, which is going to be the small stereo. And this, again, is the same idea. This is still dense because it's a shimmer type of reverb, but it's, it has less density than the other ones and a smaller size. And you can really notice it. If I go to big, change it to small. So really, it depends on what you want to do, where you want to put this. If you want something super dense, or maybe you try the big stereo and maybe it's just too much. If you just want to tone things down and you don't want to shift the controls, to change the controls, maybe just try the reverb mode. Go to small stereo, and that will be, that's just going to be, that's going to fix the problem. Right, so the color mode. This is pretty simple. It's going to cut high frequencies around the 10K. And again, about Mr. or Mrs. Valhalla says that this is to emulate vintage equipment. You get a high frequency loss. And it's pretty simple. If we do something right now, it's going to sound pretty bright. I'm going to go to big stereo. Right, it's pretty bright. Now, as soon as I change this, it's going to be a little bit dark. Right? So it's darker. Let's try again. Bright. All right. So let's do dark. Much darker, right? So yeah, again, if you are not happy with the cut and even you can do more cutting, you can just try the color mode. But the only thing that this does is, it's just gonna make it darker. That's it. Okay, so, that's it. That's pretty much the whole guide, the whole deep dive. Now, it's a pretty simple plugin. The beginning is just a little bit confusing. With the shift and, all the modes right here, you don't get patches. So it could be a little bit confusing. But once you get to, you understand that everything happens right here and how the shifting and the pitch mode works and that you have different reverb modes, everything just, becomes easier to work with. Okay, so hopefully you learned something on this one. And remember, if you liked all of this, to like and subscribe, please. And if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee just to say thanks, you can. Go to the links at the description and you will have links for PayPal. You have YouTube thanks and you have Patreon. Maybe you can be a 1-month patron and buy me a coffee that way. Just check the links at the description and see you on the next one.